Hey, I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, it's the LCSs. Will the cheaters cheat?
Will it be America's most hated or America's team? We'll get to all that, but first, America's SRBB headline.
Minor League Baseball has announced a 3-year partnership with Marvel Entertainment. 96 minor league teams will host at least one Marvel superhero-themed game as part of Marvel's Defenders of the Diamond campaign starting in the 2022 season. Teams will wear special edition Marvel superhero branded jerseys on field during the game with other Marvel-themed activities and promotions.
Just 2 years after winning a national title, LSU head coach Ed Orgeron will be leaving his dream job. He led his Tigers to the 2019 NCAA title over the Clemson Tigers. Athletic director Scott Woodward said the expectation was the team would compete for the SEC and national titles every year. And that hasn't happened in the last 2 years. Orgeron signed an extension after the 2019 season and will receive payments on his $16.9 million payout through 2025. Orgeron was once the interim head coach of the USC Trojans and appeared as himself in the movie The Blind Side as the head football coach of Ole Miss.
Formula One has announced the racing schedule for the 2022 season with a record-breaking 23 Grand Prix. The season will begin on March 20th in Bahrain. The United States will host 2 races, Miami, Florida in May and Austin, Texas in October.
Back in August, on episode 20, we reported that two-time All-Star, two-time world champion, and Oakland A's announcer Ray Fosse was stepping away from the broadcasting booth to concentrate on the treatment in his quiet 16-year-old cancer battle. On Wednesday, October 13th, Ray headed into the cornfield to join some of his past teammates and his boyhood idol, Stan Musial. He spent most of his career with the Indians and the A's. He was drafted in 1965 by Cleveland and made his MiLB debut with them on September 8, 1967 versus the Kansas City Athletics. And his last appearance on September 30th, 1979 was with the Milwaukee Brewers. The Marion Mule, as he was known, being from Marion, Illinois, was named to the Oakland A's 50th anniversary team and inducted into the St. Louis Hall of Fame in 2019. Fosse was 74. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
SRBB remembers and salutes Colin Powell as we learn of his passing at the age of 84. Colin Luther Powell was born in Harlem, April 5, 1937, to Jamaican immigrants. He grew up in South Bronx. Powell was a self-described C student throughout school. He eventually earned a Bachelor's of Science in Geology from the City College of New York in 1958, and eventually an MBA from George Washington University in 1971 after his second tour in Vietnam. While attending City College of New York, he joined the ROTC program, which he shared as one of the happiest experiences in his life. He liked the discipline and order of the military. He was commissioned in 1958, beginning a 35-year Army career, serving in various posts throughout his career, including 2 tours in Vietnam. As he rose through the ranks, he found his way to many high-level posts, eventually becoming the National Security Advisor to Ronald Reagan. In 1989, he was promoted to 4-star general by George H.W. Bush, and shortly after, he was named as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. As the JCS, he oversaw Operation Just Cause, Desert Storm, and many other operations. In 1993, General Powell retired from a distinguished Army career. He was seen by both political parties as a viable presidential candidate. He chose not to run.
In 2001, he became the first Black Secretary of State in the George W. Bush administration. During his 4 years at this post, he became a key figure in the post 9/11 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. His testimony about Saddam Hussein and weapons of mass destruction helped open the door to the invasion of Iraq. It became something that he would be questioned about and criticized for the rest of his life. He retired as Secretary of State in 2005. Powell spent his private life working as part of numerous causes and projects he supported. He was never far from the spotlight, as he was often sought out for his view on numerous political issues, events, and politicians. He met Alma Johnson on a blind date. He went as a favor to a friend in 1961. Alma didn't want to go. They married in August 1962. They had 3 children: Michael, who served as the FCC commissioner, Linda, an actress, and Anne Marie. Secretary Powell was being treated for multiple myeloma, a cancer that compromised his immune system, which led to his succumbing to complications of COVID-19. He was fully vaccinated, but became ill just before he could get the booster shot. He died October 18th at Walter Reed Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland.
It's time for Dodger Baseball.
When last we spoke, we were in San Francisco, or heading to San Francisco for Game 5 of the NLDS, Giants and Dodgers. An elimination game for both teams. 1-game series. It came down to 1 game. And of course, we know there were moments that we weren't even sure that was going to happen as far as the Dodgers were concerned, but they came back, and this was the series. In fact, I don't think, and we'll get to the ALCS and NLCS in a few minutes, but I don't think any other series has lived up to it, even with all the excitement. And they've been good series so far as like just the overall baseball. Obviously, if you're a fan of one team or the other, you may not think it was good, but there's been some good baseball. But this was a pretty incredible game to finish off. This should have been the National League Championship Series game for sure.
Absolutely.
And of course, with all that, there couldn't just be a firm one team won, no controversy. No, there had to be controversy. It was Mookie's night for the Dodgers. He went 4 for 4. Corey, Cody, both contributed. Corey driving in Mookie, Cody driving in JT. They were 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. They had 18 hits. And the Giants, with the swing of the bat by Darren Ruff, who figures into this a little later as well, tied it up at 1-1 and kept us on the edge of our seats, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. It felt like we were losing at 1-1. And this game had Corey Knebel starting, which a lot of people questioned. Julio did come in, did give up that home run to Ruff, and it was a very intense game because you mentioned Mookie Betts, but it wasn't until the top of the sixth when
Right.
they got that first hit. So here we are on the edge of our seat, 0-0, not knowing what's going on. And San Francisco had Logan Webb back out on the mound.
And Logan Webb, I guess from where the Dodgers were sitting, looked like some kind of magician. He was like Mickey Mouse in Fantasia. He's got the mops and the buckets dancing and all the stuff because they couldn't do anything with him for the most part of 7 innings.
Yeah, and I just couldn't figure that out. I mean, he's a good pitcher, but he's not like somebody that I would say, oh, this is going to be, he's going to be a Hall of Famer or All-Star, anything like that. He's not. But yeah,
No, he's already had issues in his career using performance enhancing drugs, was suspended in his rookie season. But for some reason, this Jesse Plemons lookalike,
yeah,
7 innings, he only gave up 4 hits and he gave up 1 run.
right.
So he really controlled the Dodgers overall, struck out 7 of them. It didn't seem like it was going to come together.
No.
And I believe that something that happened in this game will have effects as we go forward. And we'll talk about that in a second as well. The other guy in this game, Camilo Duvall, he's a rookie. He reminded me as far as not so much the way he throws, but he just sprouted up out of the ground, it seemed like, and boom, there he was. He reminded me of Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod, from the 2002 Angels. He was a rookie, and all of a sudden he was just in controlling everybody. You couldn't hit him. And that's kind of what was going on with Duvall.
Until
this game.
Right. And he didn't look bad until he hit Justin Turner. And at that moment, when Justin Turner got hit, I thought, all right, we're in business and something's going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen, but something was going to happen because we had a runner on base. So it was something exciting.
Right. And that was Cody hitting a single that drove in JT for the Dodgers to win 2-1 to win the NLDS. Unfortunately, sending the Giants home, which I think they really deserved to play in the championship series as well. They should have just told the Braves, you're done. We're going to have them play 7 now because whatever's happening with you is not going to be as good as what's going to happen with them.
Right. And I keep going back to this because you're seeing this, and we'll talk about this more, I'm sure. But here you have one team 107 wins, one team 106 wins going into the series. At the end of this series, the Dodgers had 110 wins, the Giants had 109, and also the Giants won 10 of the 19 games that the Dodgers played. It was kind of that 10-9 number. But when you look at Atlanta, who won 88 games all season, but then you have 2 teams who are the best in baseball and they get relegated to the division series, I would have just said, yeah, sorry, Atlanta, you're out. Because, I mean, you only won 88 games.
You don't even belong in here. And they lost the season series to both those teams.
Yeah. So,
but
It is what it is.
The game ends in controversy. And I will say that a lot of people could have banged their drums and this could have still been being talked about and drug out. But that's everybody on the Giants side really took it in stride. They may not have been happy about it, but they said, well, these things happen.
Yeah, and that would be Max Scherzer coming in to get his first save of his career, but he's up against Wilmer Flores, who probably, I mean, maybe, I don't know. You don't never know what's going to happen in postseason. Not a great record against Scherzer, and
he's down 2 strikes in the count.
That's it. Yep. And then he swings, but did he check his swing?
So the appeal to first base, and the umpire said he went around.
That's it.
And it's over. The game is over. And I think it was one of the announcers, maybe Ron Darling or Brian Anderson, they kind of agreed, was like, they're not upset about it. They're not sad about it. They're stunned. They are shocked. Yeah. And you could see it. They showed one guy on the TV who's just standing there staring as if he saw the Grim Reaper coming for him, because he was an older guy. And maybe the Grim Reaper was coming for him. I don't know. But he was shocked by whatever was going on out there.
Yeah.
And
we saw multiple angles, but we never saw what the umpire saw. And he said he went. So, I'm going to be.
Now, sometimes there's other times where I see that where it looks like they didn't really go all the way through. Sometimes it doesn't look like it. Then when they show it, they clearly did go past, and all you had to do is go past the plate.
Right.
He clearly checked his swing.
Yes.
But even Darren Ruff said at some point, things come back around. I know that my check swing, which was not called, it was like, no, he didn't go around. He clearly went around and beyond.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, that's, it just happened. Gabe, you don't want to see this series was so good and so competitive that you'd rather have seen like an actual strikeout or a fly ball. It didn't feel right that it ended like that.
Yeah.
But we've also seen where a missed call somewhere has come back to haunt the other team. Oh, it was 2 strikes. They threw the third one. They can get it, and the next hit's a home run, or the next hit's a base hit that's a run scoring hit. So game over. Dodgers move on, and they leave San Francisco, and the Giants in their tears to head to Atlanta.
Yeah, and before we leave San Francisco, I had a conversation with a Giants fan, and during this series, and he said, it could come down to a check swing. And we laughed. Ha 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 ha. And I saw him again last week. And I said, actually on Saturday, and I said, do you remember what you said? And he started laughing. He said, yeah, I remember what I said about that check swing. But I think for me as a Dodgers fan, there's always been, of course, and for Giants fans, but there's a rivalry. But it's a storied rivalry, started in New York, came to the West Coast, and it's a rivalry that is, it's not this made up stuff. This is the real deal. But I have a greater appreciation for the Giants and the rivalry because of this series. So
I think all season, the Giants came out, they played baseball, they didn't run their mouths, they didn't walk around, they weren't putting hubcaps around their necks because they hit a home run. They went out there like it was, a job. They clocked in, did their job to the best of their ability, clocked out, came back to work the next day, and they just did it every day. And their win total shows it. They were disciplined. They just played baseball.
They did. And even though I still think Gabe Kapler's glasses are fake, I got respect for him, because when in the post game interview, he said, yeah, we could be upset about that check swing, but there were a lot of other things that happened in the game that, is why we lost. So, yeah, I think the Giants will be back next season stronger.
Right? Who knows what they can do to fortify ranks. Re-signing Kevin Gossman might help, and some other things. But we'll talk about that down the road, because that doesn't matter right now. That don't matter. Nope. A team that I don't have a lot of problems with, in the Braves. I like Ozzie Albies. I like Freddie Freeman. We've got a literary figure we talked about last year, Dansby Swanson. Isn't he from wasn't he in Jane Eyre? I don't know.
Jane Eyre.
Oh, it's Jane Eyre. Okay. I thought it was Eyre. I don't know.
No, I don't think.
Wasn't he like,
so.
Heathcliff's friend? It was his buddy
in Wuthering Heights. He does sound like he would be like maybe in a Jane Austen novel.
Right. It's,
Mr. Swanson.
Yes, Dansby Swanson, or in a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
So we got that. And a rock legend, which we'll get to in a minute, playing for them as well. So they head in NLCS, a repeat of last year's NLCS. And unfortunately, because they won their division, they get to be the home team. And I don't know. I don't even know where to start with this. It wasn't, the two games there weren't like blowouts, runaways. It was anybody's game till late in the game, but it never really felt like the Dodgers were in control. So in game one, the only game that I think, as I look back, the only game that Trey Turner has had any hits in this series.
I don't even remember. It just seems
he was
like
2 for 4.
Oh yeah.
But it seems like he's not hit.
How does the batting champion, who hit 322, now hit 186, 196?
Right, and that's as of game 4.
Yeah. But
so he's been hitting third, but the problem is that up in that there, Corey's had a little bit. Mookie's been pretty consistent and doing what the leadoff hitter should do. And then most of the offense has come from the lower part, as far as like the real, driving in of runs and things. So they dropped the opener 3-2. Yeah, okay. But if you've been watching this team all season, you got to be worried at that point, because you've seen them do this throughout the season and it's not turned out well, and it's turned into a losing streak.
Yeah.
Nobody got time for that.
Not in the postseason. And you had in the 9th inning, you had the Chris Taylor base running error, which, Jock Peterson, he said he got to the ball faster than I thought he did, than I thought he would. And instead of to me, he should have just gone to third. And if he was out at third, he was out at third. And Jocelyn has an assist. But instead, he gets in a rundown. And he, sets down on the ground and looks pitiful.
He said after the game as much as he should have just kept going.
Yeah.
And and like you said, he was surprised by that, but he really should have just kept going. And instead he ended up, who knows what would have come of that, but it would have been something. And there's an unwritten rule in baseball. Don't get out at third.
Yeah.
So was that what he was doing? Oh, I got to remember that rule. No, go be aggressive. Dave Roberts is going to have an issue. Nobody's going to have an issue with that.
There's something with Chris Taylor lately. He had the big moment in the wild card game, and that's kind of been it. I mean, he's had some hits, he's had some clutch hits, but there's something not right there. But I knew that the next night he would do something to redeem himself, or in another game he would do something. So.
Right. Now, one thing I learned in game 1 was that I didn't want to see the leadoff hitter for the Braves come up at any point in this series. And that was Eddie Rosario, this guy who spent the first part of his career with Minnesota, went to Cleveland at the beginning of this year and got traded to the Braves and has absolutely been their MVP. Because at the beginning of this series, Freddie Freeman struck out 7 times in a row. He was 0 for 8.
Yeah.
And all I could keep thinking was, I hope that he doesn't wake up.
Exactly. That's what I was hoping.
And Adam Duvall were the 2 guys that were having issues in the first 2 games, and both of them were big hitters for the team throughout the year. I didn't want either one of them to wake up. It's like, let's just deal with Rosario. Austin Riley, who was part of the wins in the first 2 games, had a home run with 2 RBIs in the first game. Max Fried in the first game pretty much controlled him. 6 innings pitched, gave up 8 hits, only 2 runs, and the 1 home run to Will Smith, who's been the consistent Dodger. And then in game 2, the Dodgers were able to throw up 4, but couldn't hold the lead. Scherzer only went for a little over 4 innings.
And he made a comment after the game and said that his arm was dead. And that's a direct result from, I think, pitching in that game 5 in San Francisco. And when you're a starter, you have, so many days rest, and you don't come in relief, and you don't do those things. But in the postseason, that all changes. And we're seeing residual effects of that.
I think that's where, like I said earlier, there was an issue that has now become a bigger issue in this series with pitching management. And after they won that game 5 in San Francisco, Scherzer was out of his mind. I mean, he got that. He wanted to help, when he like anybody, give me the ball. I want to help us win. And in those kind of games, in the last game of a series, it's one thing to use other people, a star or something like that, because there is no tomorrow kind of game.
Right.
Now, and here's one thing, they brought him back. They should have let him have that day off. They should have just gone with, they could have gone with Walker Buehler, who was on regular rest. They could have done another bullpen game, which they did throughout the season. It's like, if it ain't broke, why fix it? You won 106 games, and for most of the season, in fact, in the last half of the season, they were the best team in baseball record-wise, and yet they're going away from what worked for them. And there were a lot of bullpen games. As much as we hated them, that's how they got through. So why stop now? If you've already used up, and in game 2, he messed up again because he uses Julio.
Right. When I saw Julio in the bullpen, I'm thinking, why? Why is he there? We have other guys in there. You've got Evan Phillips is on the roster. Justin Brule, who's been really good. I'm trying to think who hadn't pitched at this point, but you had other options, and you bring in Julio, who is a 20-game winner, regular season winner, won 20 games, but he's also pitched more innings than I think he's ever pitched in his career. And he comes in and, gives up a run, and the Braves have another walk-off, which that's 2 walk-offs, 2 nights. You would have thought that they had won the intergalactic baseball championship on those 2 nights.
No, they were out there in the field, ripping off each other's jerseys, smacking each other in the head. They're bouncing around like they just won.
Yeah,
the series.
And then we think, all right, we're going home. We're going to LA. We'll put Atlanta behind us. And I was not in the right frame of mind for Game 3.
No, well, hold on.
All right.
Game 2. Let's not get ahead of ourselves yet. Game 2, rock and roll legend from Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson on the mound.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Ian Anderson.
Here's the part that I wanted to bring up about this was that we always talk about things being scripted. Max Scherzer gave up a home run in the game. Now, had he just given up that one, what did he give it? That was a home run to
Jocelyn.
To Jocelyn, right. And they said right before Jocelyn's coming to the plate, he issued a walk to, who was it? It was like Austin Riley.
Yeah.
He walked Austin Riley. And they said that's the first walk allowed in 95 plate appearance by the Dodgers. 95 people have come to the plate. That's the first walk they've given up. 95 plate appearances. Jocelyn then hits a home run. And of course, it shows when you walk somebody, what happens? It doesn't work out good for you, generally. And I thought, how's this? Why did you? And I'm yelling at the TV, shut up, Ron Darling. And I like Ron Darling, but I'm like, I think it was him and Brian Anderson, but one of them said, I think it was Ron Darling. It wasn't Jeff Francoeur, who, by the way, who's an Atlanta announcer during the season. I haven't heard him that I've noticed, and I've walked away a few times, so maybe he did it when I wasn't there, but he seems to be really easy across the board. He talked about how much he loved Will Smith as a catcher and all that, how much he sees this. He said, don't mess with this because they've got the chance to do this. I mean, he talks obviously because he knows the Braves. He talks knowledgeably about them, but he doesn't put down or go, well, that's what happens when you got a manager like Andrew Friedman. I mean, he's not calling him out or being disrespectful to them like some announcers are, or he doesn't have the Atlanta bias. At least it doesn't come out that way.
No, I think he's doing a good job. He does, I think, go out of his way to make sure that he's not, that he's showing both sides. And I do appreciate that.
He's doing the Vin Scully way.
Especially
Vin Scully always said, I don't know who's listening to me. There could be a Giants fan or a Braves fan out there listening. So I call the game across the board. Yes, I'm a Dodgers fan and I'm happy to see them do well. But when I'm calling the game, that's not my job to have a bias.
Yeah.
And Jeff Francoeur seems to be working that way.
He's doing a good job. And it's nice to have him in there because I do like Ron Darling, and he's been okay, but Brian Anderson, he needs to stay in Milwaukee with the Brewers. So, that's all
maybe
I'll say about that.
Had the Braves lost to the Brewers, he would have. Only he would have been calling the Dodgers versus the Brewers,
which probably would have been way worse. But
all right, so we headed back to LA, got a day off. And ready for a Game 3 matchup between Walker Buehler and Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton was supposed to be the Game 2 starter, was pushed back to Game 3, which probably worked out okay for him. So you weren't ready for this game, huh?
I wasn't. And
you know who was ready for this game?
Charlie Morton,
He was ready. As
Brian
was
Snicker.
maybe Freddie Freeman was ready for this game too.
Yeah, I think so. Being back in his home, although he was an Angels fan growing up. So
He was.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, we didn't mention in game 2, Corey Seager hit a 2-run home run.
Oh, right.
Which is important in game 3.
Which scored Mookie as well. Mookie singled.
Yep.
So game 3 starts, and Walker takes the mound and gets out the Braves. I mean, without giving up a run. And then the bottom of the first, Mookie comes up,
gets on base, and Corey Seager comes up and hits a home run, which you then texted me and said, "Is this the same script?" And I said, "I hope it could be, but with a better ending."
Yes, you did say that. And the script thing kind of reminded me of what had happened in the other series in the ALCS. And so I was just kind of thinking, maybe this script conspiracy has some meat to it. It's got feet. It's walking. So 2 games in a row, they start off 2-0. And 2 games in a row, they gave up that lead. This time, not just one here and one there. This time, they gave it up a little bit bigger. Not a whole lot more, but more.
You had Walker Buehler on the mound. He was on extra days of rest. I think 1, maybe 2 days extra. And so you had to feel good about having Walker on the mound, and he didn't look bad. But it was the 4th inning that he just kind of left him off kilter. But he said it had nothing to do. It was all on him. But I say, you can say that, but after Gavin Lux missed that ball in center field, which became, I think it was a double, and that, I think I'm sure that scored a run. And then a strike, he threw a strike that was called a ball. And even the announcers said, oh, and Ron Darling, who was a pitcher, was like, oh, that was bad. That was a really bad call. And after that call, he just imploded, and they loaded up the bases. And when they got another run in, and then he walked, the bases were loaded. And I said,
walked in a run.
And I said, if he walks in a run, I'm turning this game off. I can't watch it. And I did, because I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I just I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch this happen.
So I continued to watch, and I saw, and that's the top of the 4th. They give it 4 runs. They get out of it. The top of the 5th, Adam Duvall drives in Ozzie Albies. And now it's like, okay, are we going to be able to get back into this where it's 5-2? It doesn't look like we can score any runs after that initial home run by Corey Seager. And it just kind of stayed that way until the bottom of the 8th, when I don't know what happened. Somebody flipped a switch. They brightened the lights. They got hypnotized. I don't know what happened, but thanks to Cody Bellinger, the Dodgers tied things up.
I was checking the game. I did turn it back on briefly and got frustrated again, and I needed to make dinner And I was like, I can't watch this. But then when it was time to eat dinner, I happened to look at my phone and I thought, oh, it's tied. I don't know how it's tied, but it's tied. And I turned it off real quick and I went and ate dinner.
Yeah, don't go. I was going to say, are you watching? And if you just said no, I was like, don't.
Yeah.
Because Cody was, I don't remember who was pitching at that point for the Braves, but he threw a pitch.
It was it was Luke.
Oh, it was Luke Jackson.
Luke Jackson. And the reason I remember is because AJ Pollock got a single, and this is later because I didn't see it. And in the highlight, Ron Darling said that was a hit. Jackson Pollock, that exchange between Jackson Pollock, and it just stuck in my mind because Jackson Pollock is an artist.
The artist,
so.
Yes. Well, Will Smith's on base. AJ's on base. Cody comes up. The pitcher, or Luke Jackson, throws a fairly high fastball, and then he throws it just a little bit higher on the next pitch, and Cody took it and yard shot, and it tied it all up. And then Mookie would single in CT3 for it to be a 6-5 game. Kinley comes on, mows down, strikes out the side. And I want to correct something. I heard them today in one of the innings say he's going to strike out the side. But you can't strike out the side if, like, Eddie Rosario got on base. You know, Eddie Rosario was like one hit away from the cycle. We'll talk about that later, but next game. But striking out the side means you struck out the three batters. Nobody else came up. There wasn't a single and then three strikeouts. You didn't strike out the side if there's more. It was three batters. You struck out the side. So he did that, ended the game, and gave the Dodgers the worst thing in the world once again.
Hope.
Exactly. Now, the whole time they're talking about this, from when the Braves won before coming out to LA, was the Dodgers Braves series last year started off 2-0, went to 3-1, and the Dodgers won by winning the last three. Well, I, like anybody else, want my team to sweep. So all the Braves fans wanted the Braves to win and then be done in game 4. Same thing for the Dodgers fans. But they keep bringing it up, and so I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going, that's okay, just like last year. Problem is, there's players that the Braves have now that they didn't have last year. The other thing that we got to think about is, and maybe this is a question to bring up later on, but did the Dodgers basically being able to move into Arlington to the Grill and play all of their playoff games and World Series games in the same place work in their favor? Even if it was that close, is that something that we should consider in an off season, that while the Dodgers made it through everything in the COVID year of 2020, should there be an asterisk by their World Series title because things all just worked in their favor, and that they were one of the better teams in baseball as far as how they played and their record? But having those things, did that make it like just playing a home game for however many games they had to play? And
I don't know.
Is this team as good as they were in the second half? As somebody that watched a lot of their games, I don't recall them ever looking like they were the best team. They won a lot of games, obviously, but it never felt like that.
Yeah, nothing. and this is something Vince Scully says, nothing is ever easy for the Dodgers. And this season, I mean, there were times where it's like, really? You're going to, you did this? I mean, look at the first game of the season against Colorado. And they already had a base running error and they had almost home run. I mean, it was just like, this is how we're starting the season. I mean, it just was like,
Right.
what? And yeah, it just one of those things. Being a Dodger fan is not for the faint of heart. That's exactly what I will say.
It's advanced fandom.
It really is. I mean,
you gotta want it bad, or else it's just gonna run away. It's gonna eat you up.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Maybe because I'm kind of lazy. Maybe that's why I'm an Angels fan, because it doesn't really take a lot of. It's like all those years of being a Cubs fan. It was easy to be a Cubs fan, right? Because they were the lovable losers.
Yeah.
Oh, well, wait till next year. Ha, 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 ha. Now, see, there's some pressure there they never had before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. What I do know is that when you look at the post numbers, this is a couple of numbers that we've looked at throughout the year. Now, they did leave 10 on base. And what was supposed to be Walker Buehler starting and carrying through at least 5 or 6 innings or more, hopefully, it ended up with 9 pitchers. It was really more of a bullpen game. The one thing that I can say is they were 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And with all of those pitchers, there were 10 inherited runners, but only one of those inherited runners scored. And generally, that's not the way it's been. So now we take a look at game 4, Wednesday night's game. And of course, there's a game tonight. And unless the Braves win it, they'll go back to Atlanta. If this hope from last year plays out to this year, it'll go a full 7 games and they'll finish up in Atlanta before coming home, because they would have home field advantage in the World Series to play whoever. But I wonder, while Jock didn't do anything today, Jocelyn was somewhat quiet today. And we'll talk about the Red Sox and the Asterix in a few minutes. Kike Hernandez has really been leading that team. Imagine if the Braves and the Red Sox go to the World Series with 2 players who were always big contributors in the postseason for the Dodgers.
And I thought about that, and I said, I don't want to think about that.
And you've said it, and you said it last week, and I've seen people tweet it. Can we still go back and sign Kike?
Yeah.
And tonight you had said something about Jocelyn and his pearls. Now, we both like Jocelyn. We're happy to see him play well, except not right now.
Exactly. I don't want to. I want him to strike out.
I'm going to get to a point. You said this. I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to say, take off those stupid pearls.
I feel that way right now.
While we were watching the game today, and I had not mentioned this to Blanca at all, she said, I'm beginning to hate Jocelyn. Take those pearls off. She yelled at the TV. Take those pearls off. You look stupid.
Yes. Great that minds think alike, because this is the problem. You mentioned hubcaps. And we know where those hubcaps are. We've seen them in other cities, but we know that's a San Diego thing. The pearls have become an Atlanta thing. You had Dale Murphy wearing pearls.
Right, he
Chipper
came out to throw
Jones
he too. Yeah,
got pearls. They're giving
in the stands.
No, they're giving them out at Truist Park, the stadium. They're giving them out. It's like, this is so stupid. I hate those pearls.
The lucky charm. Well, and when Dale Murphy came out to throw out the first pitch, he had his own jersey on. He took it off, and underneath was a Hank Aaron jersey. He took that off, and it was an Austin Riley jersey, which I get. Austin Riley's been a big part of that team. He's been a contributing member. And then he threw on his pearls.
Yeah.
And it was just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
At first it seemed kind of funny.
Far.
Now it's annoying. And it's like, come on, Jocelyn. Really?
Yeah.
But all those, I saw guys in the stands.
Yeah. And they didn't have one strand. They had like multiple. And
it's not Mardi Gras.
No. But I will say, I like Brian Snitker. And he said, hey, he wants to wear pearls. It's crazy to see, guys up in the stand wearing pearls. I'm not going to wear them, but hey, that was.
He's been asked why the pearls. He even quoted like Jackie Kennedy Onassis as saying, well, there's never a wrong time to wear pearls or something to that effect. I don't remember what the exact thing was, but because he's very elusive about what it is, but that was one of his answers, was to quote Jackie Kennedy and that there's never a bad time, or that pearls are always appropriate or something, you know.
Jocelyn quoted that?
Yes.
Because this sounds bad. It's like he would know a Jackie Kennedy quote. That
I'm sure that he was looking for things about wearing pearls, and he probably came up with it, or his wife.
Good.
You know what? Poppy, who's what, like 2 years
3.
old, maybe now? She's 3. She
3.
probably told him, Dad,
yeah,
you're going to wear them. Here's a reason why.
Yeah. Well,
because
he can have
Jackie Kennedy said, anytime is a good time
to
wear pearls.
Well, apparently, but yeah, in Wednesday night's game, I think the luster had worn off, and I was thinking every time I see him, I'm just like, I want to rip him off his neck and then have all the pearls come off the string as they roll onto the ground. Those
break
pearls.
that, whatever it is. So yeah, not a great night. I mean, once again, it started off okay. The Dodgers had scored 2 runs. They were holding on to it. Julio started
2 runs, but not with a home run.
No, this time.
So we're thinking, maybe.
This time they only had 4 hits on the game. And it was AJ Pollock with a 2-run single that brought home those 2 runs in the bottom of the 5th. And once again, it was Rosario. Eddie Rosario. 4 for 5, was a double away from the cycle.
Yeah, but why hit a double when you can just hit another home run?
Right. But he said, I guess that's not a double, because he's aware. And I was impressed because versus the Giants during the season, he hit for the cycle
off 5 pitches.
On 5 pitches, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So, 4 RBIs. And in addition to his 2 home runs, he also hit a triple.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like I said, in a single, because he was just that. But it's just crazy that he had that kind of night. Adam Duvall hit a home run, as did Freddie Freeman. 3 home runs, which, as I think they mentioned, Julio hadn't given up a 3 home run game since like his second game pitching in like 5 years.
And they always mention those things, during the game. And you're like, why are you mentioning this? Because this is what's going to happen. But again, we can go back to pitching. Julio pitching in relief in game 2. Here he is in game 4. And he has to go longer than, 4 innings or 5 innings. He needs to get out there. So they left him in. And, he did have, I will say this about Julio. He gave up those home runs, but he does come back. He doesn't let it get to him. He does try to get back in, where he should be. But again, I mean, why, when you have Walker Buehler, Julio Urias, and Max Scherzer in your pitching rotation, Why are you misusing them? And why are they becoming a liability in the postseason?
I think in this game, the Braves showed them where they're messing up because it was a bullpen game for them. Jesse Chavez comes out, pitches a great first inning. Drew Smiley, who used to be a starter and has had some issues, that's who they needed to get at. They never really got to him. He threw 3 1/3 innings. They weren't even planning on that to happen. But Snitker was given a lot of room to work because Rosario, Duvall, and Freeman, spotted them, and he could leave him in there. And Smiley was controlling the Dodgers. They used against the Dodgers what the Dodgers had been using all year in a bullpen game. And tonight it really worked for the Braves. 3 1/3 from Smiley. Minter went 2 innings. The rest of the time it was all, they all came in and they did their job and they put a stop to the Dodgers. At one point, I was thinking, okay, well, if we have to go to the bottom 8th or bottom of the 9th, we're still close enough, and the Dodgers are capable of scoring 5, 6, 8 runs in an inning. Let's see what happens. But they didn't get that chance. So Julio Urias and Tony Gonsolin tonight were the one that gave up all the runs. Skip Bickford and Justin Brule covered 2 innings of the game combined and gave up 1 hit. I think that was Skip gave up a hit, and that was it. So the real bullpen guys did what they were supposed to do. It just makes me wonder, why not just go with the bullpen? It seems like, oh, we're in the postseason. Let's change everything.
Yeah. And, you hear that too, because last year in the postseason, they did use Julio. They did use, but that was a different season. They played 60 games.
And Julio pitched out of the bullpen a lot during the season.
Yeah.
He didn't, this year he pitched more. He's starting exclusively. He pitched more than he's ever pitched.
Right.
And think about it. He didn't lose. I don't think he lost a game after the All-Star break or a certain period at the end of the season. He was the only 20-game winner this year. I just feel like that Robots is misusing the bullpen. He's misusing the pitching staff as a whole.
Yes.
And I get you can't blame all of it on Robots, and you can't even blame it on his mismanagement of the bullpen. You can blame a lot of what's happening with him is lack of offense. You got guys like Justin Turner who lead the Dodgers in postseason everything just about, who he's hitting like 12.
Yeah. I mean,
he's got no average. Trey Turner is under 200, as you mentioned before. There's just not a lot of, these guys aren't coming through. And that's one thing you saw, especially in games 1 and 2, the Braves came through, played the ball the way that they were supposed to. There's another unwritten rule that is hit the ball where it's pitched. And these guys have been doing that, whereas the Dodgers have been sitting around waiting for somebody to throw it where they want it. It's not batting practice.
Right. Yeah. It's so frustrating, but the offense has been anemic, and I keep, I'm like, come on, you need to make the pitcher work for that strikeout. And they're not, and
not making them work for anything.
No. And, I will say with Cody Bellinger, he had the big hit in game 3. But even in Wednesday's game, he had a single, but he's batting in the bottom part of the lineup and nobody's bringing him in. Or it is that bottom part of the lineup. Maybe we need to switch the lineup because Trey Turner, you mentioned it, but they need to shake it up because it's not working. I would put Mookie, Wednesday's game, he was 0 for 4, but, for the most part in the games, he's the one that's getting a hit.
Right.
The one thing that has made me kind of laugh is the announcers in their handling of Gavin Lux and the kid gloves that they give him. I'm not a big fan of Gavin Lux. When he does something good, I will, give him the kudos. Yeah, good job. But he has no business in the outfield in a postseason game. That's not where you learn to play the outfield
don't keep running
in the
him out
postseason.
there every day. This isn't May.
Right. You guys say, oh, I know you didn't have a good game out there, but you're going to be in there tomorrow. You can do it. Yeah, no, this is not, like you said, May. It's not April.
Let's run him out there tomorrow. And when they lose and they're at home watching, even though, Clayton and Albert and a couple others, Max Scherzer, are all saying, we're not ready to be done yet. But those guys aren't playing. And Albert came up and had a single.
Yes.
So he's trying to contribute.
I will say, and I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a hit to center field. It was dropped right in front of Gavin Lux. Now, Ron Darling said, oh, he would never have made that play. He could have made that play if he hadn't been cautious, if he had laid out and tried to catch that ball. That would have been something. But he was conservative and it hit. Did you see Julio Urias's reaction?
I did. I saw it. And I think there are a lot of people who are frustrated with Gavin Lux.
Yes.
And I wondered, they showed a shot of AJ Pollock talking to Gavin Lux. And Gavin didn't have that smirk, arrogant look on his face or trying to laugh everything off. He was listening to him. And I don't know if, for all I know, AJ Pollock's telling him about this show that he's been watching, been binge watching, and told him about something. He was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, wow. No, he was like listening to him, and I'm hoping that he was trying to impart, some wisdom upon him. I get it. After a bad play, they did that, Mike Trout did that with Joe Adele last year. Come on, rookie, you're okay. Because it's an embarrassing moment when the ball bounces off your head or your glove or whatever is a home run. But then you take them in and you teach them how to do it. These guys are starting to show out that they're not happy with him and what he's doing. And he's not really hitting either.
Right. That's the other part that the announcers are like, well, he's in the lineup because of his bat. And I'm like, his bat?
Yeah, Trey Turner's in the lineup because of his bat too. But, honestly, you know what I'm thinking? Put Trey in center field. See what he can do.
I think he could probably play.
I think he could do better than Lux.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's just one of those things. Don't force it. And I think that's what Dave Roberts does is he forces things and now it doesn't work.
And now you're going to have some changes in the infield. Everybody was excited that JT, who didn't start game 2, breaking his streak of like 77 straight starts in the postseason, because he has a neck stinger or a sore neck or stiff neck. I don't know what a neck stinger is. Is it intercostal or intercostal stinger?
I don't know. When I heard that, I thought, did he just like
stinger?
Did he sleep on it wrong? Because a couple of weeks ago, it's probably been more than, I think probably a few weeks ago, I actually was getting my teeth cleaned. And the way the dentist chair was, when I left, my neck hurt. And it hurt probably for 3 or 4 days. And I thought, I had a neck stinger and I didn't even know it. And I just went on with my day. I didn't, I don't play third base, but
you don't hold the record for the most postseason home runs.
No, I don't. But I know what to call it when I when it
your
happens
neck, I have a
again.
neck. What's wrong with you, Jen? I have a neck stinger.
Yep.
See, it's even sticking out a little bit. I don't know what kind of big bug it is, but all right. So tonight is do or die for the Dodgers. If they don't win, the Braves go to the World Series to match up with whomever. We don't know that yet. By the time we talk to you next week, we'll know. If the Dodgers do hold on, and they've played a lot of elimination games. Figure the wild card was an elimination game. Game 5 was an elimination game. So this would be their third elimination game. And then from here on out, every game's an elimination game for them.
Yeah.
So they've got to do that. So if they win tonight, they'll be off on Friday, and they play at least local time. They play, around 2:00 local West Coast time, Pacific time, against in Atlanta, and they'll finish up in Atlanta if they win tonight. So we'll see. Here's hoping, as Dodger fans. If not, this is where I really see what kind of a baseball fan you are. Because you're a Dodger fan first.
Yes, always.
And then you're a baseball fan. And if your Dodgers get eliminated, see, here's when we were going through, if the Dodgers had been eliminated by the Giants, I had decided I would root for the Giants all the way through to win.
Yes.
Because
I agree with that.
I used to be the kind of person that is, if my team loses to your team, I'm going to root against your team. But then I had a coworker once who said, well, I always root for the team that beat my team. So that way, when they win it all, I can say we lost, but we lost to the champion.
Yeah.
And I like that. So sometimes I use it when it works in I'm having a hard time rooting for the Braves, but the more I watch the other series, I realize I might be able to root for the Braves, because there's just something about the other two teams that more the asterisks, of course, than the Bo Sox. So let's take a look at the ALCS. Not my anterior cruciate ligament. The cheater series.
The cheater series. And I have to mention, in the do or die game, that is tonight, I just want to say to Trevor Bauer, thanks a lot, because I have decided that if this goes south and all the pitching, it's his fault, and I'm just going to blame it on him, and that'll be it.
Since you brought that up, I got to say something. I'm tired of the Hankook tire commercials, because I've seen more Clayton Kershaw just in this short series in that commercial than I did all season. And it underscores, like you just said with Trevor Bauer, it underscores him not being there, how much we really did need him.
Yeah.
We needed those 5 guys to be able to pitch. We needed Scherzer even with Bauer.
Yes, definitely. Yep. But let's go on to the ALCS.
Okay. Before we dive into the ALCS, American League Cheater Series, the Bo Sox and the Asses, stop by our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Click on one of the Fanatics links. Could be Dodgers, could be Angels. Click on that link, and you can even go find something else, but get your favorite team's gear, whether it be Dodgers, Angels, Braves, Red Sox. I do believe we have a block on Asterix gear. I don't think you can buy Asterix gear. We don't want to get any affiliate money from Asterix gear. I'm lying. Buy all the Asterix gear you want. We don't know. It'd be cool. All right, so I just broke open can number 2 of the show of Diet Dr. Pepper, which I drink every time we do a show. Even though I live close to Sonic now than I ever did, I live closer than you do to Sonic.
Yeah.
I'm never able to get over there and get a Route 44 Diet Dr. Pepper before the show, so I just have a can of it ready to go. But I do have, I could put it in glass, and I do have Sonic Ice.
Ooh, that's the best ice.
It is awesome. It's 1, Chick-fil-A is 2.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So Boston and Houston. It's been a pretty interesting matchup. They are 1 game ahead because they started 1 day before the National League Series. And they finished up their 3 in Boston just yesterday. Game 1 for them was all about the Asterisks in Houston. 5-4. You know, Kike was 2 home runs in the 4th and in the 9th.
4 for 5.
2 RBIs. Yeah, so, but unfortunately, the short one, Altuve, hit a home run that tied up the game 3-3. And he would do that again here in this series. These guys are just, I think a lot of people feel the same way about the other guy who homered in game 1, Carlos Correa, that they just want to hit him in the head, punch him in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even care if Alex Bregman gets hit by a bus anymore.
No.
If Correa and Tucker and Altuve.
Right.
But
The
see,
3 of them.
Altuve would be strapped on in a little baby carrier for Correa to carry him around.
Yeah. Well, and this is a sad thing too about the Asterisks. They brought in Dusty Baker, and I like Dusty Baker, but I don't like Dusty Baker now as the Asterisks manager because he's bought into the whole victimhood of Altuve and Correa. And even Bregman, he doesn't bother me too much because he kind of seems like, just that I'm not going to let that get to me. But the other 2,
I just want to play baseball.
Yeah, the other 2, nah. But in this game 1 with in Houston, they had Crisale on the mound. You had Framber Valdez for Houston on the mound. And both of them went 2 2/3 innings, which I thought was interesting. Crisale gives up 5 hits. Framber Valdez gives up 6. Sale 1 run. Valdez 3 runs. So I thought that was an interesting box score.
And then former Angel Hansel Robles, he gave up the home run to Correa. He's now with the Red Sox, and I was just like, come on, man! Now you know why we let you go. And it really turned out, once again, you've got 2 starters. Now, you don't expect Chris Sale to go that deep into the game just because he's still working his way back. But it ends up being a bullpen game pretty much for both of those teams. It wasn't planned that way, but they end up throwing a lot of pitchers out there. The next day is where the scripting starts.
Oh, yeah. It's
for
nuts.
Me. It just, so this score sounds a lot closer than it was. It was 9-5. Boston wins that one. Luis Garcia started the game for the Asterisks, but didn't last that long. Twisted his knee or did something and ended up coming out of the game. He's still on the roster, but he had some kind of a little tweak or an injury type thing, and he comes out of the game, but not before JD Martinez takes him yard with the bases loaded for a 4-run home run.
Or also known as a grand slam.
Right. So clears the bases. Garcia comes out the next inning and gives up a single and then leaves the game. Jake Odorizzi comes in, who's had a hard time. Hasn't really pitched great. And he puts 2 more people on base, which opens the door for Rafael Devers, who promptly hits a 4-run home run.
Also known as a grand slam.
That was the top of the second. So in consecutive innings, grand slams.
And so it's 8. They have 8 runs in the
8 to
second
nothing.
inning. Right.
And then in the 5th, Kike comes up and hits a solo home run. So it's 9 to nothing. So as you see, even though it ended up being 9-5, Yuli Gurriel and Jason Castro both coming in and hitting home runs in the 9th. Yuli Gurriel drove in 3 RBIs, was 2 for 4. They came back with those 5 runs, but it really wasn't as close as that even sounds. And that doesn't even sound that close, but it could have been 9 to nothing or 9-3. Thanks to Gurriel. So they move on, and just so you know, Jason Castro plays a part as a hero in another game as well. But I figured, why leave it at Slam Diego? The Slam Sox, which, by the way, I didn't hear anybody call him that but me. So I anticipate that it's going to come up somewhere because we're bugged.
Yes.
The Slam Sox go into game 3, pick up the win to take the series lead. Kyle Tucker, the only player for the Asterix to do anything, hits a home run. It's a 3-run shot. It's a 3-run homer, also known as a 3-run homer. He's got it all. It's second inning, and Kyle Schwarber comes to the plate. And what does he hit?
A grand slam.
Also known as a 4-run home run. So that gives them the lead, and they just blew him out 12-3. They couldn't be stopped. Kike was 2 for 4 in the game. Christian Arroyo in the 3rd hit a home run off of former Dodger Yimmy.
Oh, Yimmy Garcia. Well, the Slam Sox, as you have now
Coined the phrase, are the first team in Major League Baseball history to tally 3 grand slams in a single playoff series. They have made their name in the record book. So 2 games in a row, they just blow apart the Asterix. And if you're a Red Sox fan, now you have hope. And didn't you say that the winning numbers in one of the lottery things was 2004 in Massachusetts? So, of course, now they're thinking, we're a team of destiny. Yes. Was we Pak the Ka and Harvard Yard. So you're figuring game 4, we're looking pretty good. We're at home. We should do pretty well. And for most of the game, it was 2-1. But then Shorty came up, once again, hits a tying home run, making it 2-2. Now Xander Bogaerts had hit a home run in the first, 2 RBIs, and that's where they'd gotten their 2, and they'd held it all that time. Makes me wonder, though, because Nathan Eovaldi, starting pitcher, comes in relief. Only goes 2/3 of an inning, gives up 4 hits and 4 runs. In the 9th inning, the Asses score 7 runs.
7 runs in the 9th. It's crazy.
Michael Brantley had 3 RBIs. Bregman hit a home run. Zach Greinke only went 1 1/3 innings in this game.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's really, if you look at both of the series and you look at these starting pitchers, in most cases, I mean, you're not seeing starting pitching go that, long into the game. I think there is an exception, but yeah, so it's, and you hardly ever see pitchers go, throw a complete game anymore.
No.
So,
yeah, you're not going to see that, but you would think that during the season, a lot of them were able to go 7, 8 innings, even if they didn't start off that great. And Zach Greinke, the first thing I saw, because I didn't see the beginning of the game, I was reading, did Zach Greinke get hurt? Did he, throw out his arm or something? What happened? No, they just pulled him, and they ended up trusting the bullpen, which sometimes is good, sometimes not so good. For the Red Sox in this game, not so good. Martin Perez comes in after Eovaldi and inherited 3 runners. 3 runners scored.
Mm.
And then on the other side, it was good for the Asterix because the bullpen came in and threw 7 2/3 scoreless innings. So it brought us to last night's game, Game 5, the last game in Boston. They're heading back to Minute Maid to finish up the series. And once again, it just didn't look good for the Bo Sox. Devers hit a home run, was 2 for 3, but the whole team only had 3 hits, and 2 of those were from Rafael Devers.
Yeah.
Chris Sale did look okay at the beginning, went 5 1/3, gave up 3 hits and 4 runs, but he didn't look that bad overall. Framber Valdez looked better.
Oh yeah, lots better.
Like 8 innings worth better.
Yeah,
only gave up 3 hits and a run.
Yeah, he was the anomaly. He was the one I was talking about that actually went 8 innings.
And this time, now remember, if you go back just a few minutes ago, I said one of the unwritten rules in baseball was hit the ball where it's pitched. Yordan Alvarez gave a clinic in hitting it where it's pitched. He went opposite field 3 different times. One of those times he had a home run over the Green Monster. That was in the top of the second. 3 for 5, and all of them were opposite field. He just had it. And then his buddy Yuli Gurriel, they're buddies because their first names both start with Y.
Okay.
I don't know why they're teammates.
They both
had 3 RBIs.
Yeah, both of them had 3 RBIs apiece. I mean, they were just they couldn't be stopped.
And then Jose Siri playing center field, 2 RBIs for him. There were, the rest were scattered amongst a few different players. But Framber Valdez, and this is a guy that I don't like to see come up, like versus the Angels in a World Series. I don't want to see that matchup. Just like I don't want to see Eddie Rosario coming to the plate with the Braves. I don't want to see Framber. I'll see any of them. Zach Greinke is going to be probably a Hall of Famer. I'm less worried about Zach Greinke than I am about Framber Valdez. So they finished up there. They're off on Friday. They're off today. They pick up for the last 2 games, Friday and Saturday. And like I said, the Braves will be Braves-Dodgers will be in Atlanta, depending on what happens tonight with the Dodgers. So we'll see. The next time we talk, we will definitely know which of these 4 teams will be meeting up in the World Series. Now, I have a conspiracy theory I have to share right now. As we know, the Braves were lost out on the All-Star game for lack of a better term, political reasons. About some thing that was passed, a law that was passed in Georgia. Now, most people know about it. We're not going to go into it, but that was why they did it. As a response to that, it was moved to Colorado. I think that if the Braves win this, that it's Manfred making up for taking the All-Star game. As good as they've been playing, there are a lot of times when you look at the Dodgers that the thing that the Braves are doing is the Dodgers are playing poorly. They're losing the game more than the Braves are winning. But I guess that's not completely true because the Braves are, unless it's scripted and they know what's coming, the Braves are taking advantage of the mess ups, the Dodger errors, the mental errors, and all that. The Dodgers open the door for them. The Braves are walking through. I then think that if the Asses make it to the World Series, which right now, I'm sure that the odds are, I'm sure the DraftKings thing will pop up. We'll talk about that in a second. And say the over-under on the Asses making it to the World Series is whatever. I believe that that's also because they're Manfred's pets. And Manfred feels bad about all the abuse and the booing and the negativity and that Altuve was standing in second base crying, so Correa had to come over and comfort him. Yuli used his hair to wipe away Altuve's tears. That they're going to get to go to the World Series. And that makes it up for both of them because of what bad things happened to them.
That is so Manfreded up. I hate it.
It is, but it could be true.
It could be. I would.
Before I'd be like, nah, that's not what's happened. But no, I believe it fully. So anyway, we'll see who makes it. Will it be the Manfred appointed teams, or will it actually come down to like who played better and didn't cheat? All right, we're going to take a short stroll around the league, get you caught up on some other news that's going on. But first, something that we've both mentioned in texting to one another is all of this DraftKings stuff and stopping, like right before, who was it? Somebody came up and they said, oh, at one point it was Julio Urias. What's the over-under on his strikeouts for the game? 3.5 was the over-under.
Yep.
And then the DraftKings commercial, with the blonde girl, and she's like, her hands and they get a single, do this,
bet $1,
slam, and
and DraftKings and MiLB are partners.
And that's the thing. Everybody was against gambling until they could make money off of it. And the MLB ain't alone because the NFL's in on this. The NHL, I don't know if they are or not. I'm pretty sure they probably jumped in on it, but they would be the ones that aren't.
Yeah.
And not because they're high and above everybody else. It's because they're just behind.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it with the NBA, but I'm sure, because you can do all that. There's DraftKings stuff and FanDuel, I think, is another one that I saw on there. And no, we don't have any affiliation with either one of them, but those are the ones that are coming up, especially the DraftKings, because they're a sponsor. And the first thing that came to my mind as they're doing these over-unders or, however to bet was, when does Pete Rose get into the Hall of Fame? And then you texted me and said the same thing that I'd been thinking. When does Pete Rose get into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wonder is, how come they haven't taken any of these fantasy sports or sports betting companies? Why haven't they gotten Pete Rose as a spokesman? Because now there's really a door in, because MLB's partnering with a company that would hire Pete Rose. And you know what? This is the stupid thing. MLB does not have to ever let Pete Rose work in Major League Baseball again. All they have to do is tell the Hall of Fame he's not on the restricted list anymore.
That's it. That's all that needs to happen.
They could still deny him a job in MLB forever. Fine, I don't care. But let him be, and let's see, does he get in? How can you keep Pete Rose out for doing something that you are actively participating in now by advertising with, by partnering? It's not even advertising, letting them advertise with you. You've partnered with them and they're getting some money. They're ill-gotten gains.
Exactly. And yeah, you're promoting it. And we talked about this in an earlier episode where it was the tracker. And I said, what is this? They have the over-unders or,
Right.
and I'm like, this is crazy. And this is on MLB Network on their tracker. And now, of course, we see the DraftKings and they have the announcers, like you said, they had with Julio Urias. I think they had one with Eddie Rosario.
They did,
with his home, is he going to hit a home run? What's the odds? And so Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame. And I think it's really despicable of MLB to not. Why is he still restricted when you are profiting? You've got a partnership with the gambling, and you think it's okay because at the end of the tracker you put, oh, if you have a gambling problem, call this number.
Right. That your disclaimer.
Yeah.
The warning label.
Yeah.
There's one. No, the minute that you got in with that and you started taking money from him, he's in.
That's
period.
It. He is in.
Now, if you had probably put out odds at the beginning of the season on Jace Tingler, the over-under of how many years he would manage the Padres, most people would have probably gone, say, the over-under was 4. Most people probably would have went over based on what's going on. Now, smart people like me didn't bet at all. But if you took the under, you paid off. Hopefully you put a lot of money in that, because even though we said last time that it was talked about that he was probably going to be let go, it was official. He is gone. No more Jace Tingler.
Yep.
Now, if you'd have done the same thing in, let's say, St. Louis, will St. Louis retain Mike Schilt for another season? You'd have probably said, oh, yeah, they made the playoffs. They came from nowhere. They were a crappy team to start the season, even with everything they had, and they ended up the season blowing past a lot of teams that had been up there all season long. Mike Schilt's a shoo-in.
Unless you have philosophical differences with the front office. And then you are not a shoo-in, and you are now at home without a job.
That's correct. Yes, you are jobless.
Jobless in St. Louis. He could have a new show.
Right.
Jobless in St. Louis, and he could go and apply for different jobs, or I don't know, what would he do? I mean, he's been with St. Louis for 18 years, something like that. I mean, he's
probably got, well, he's got management skills. He could probably he could seem to work at like McDonald's or something as the manager, or, sandwich shop, or, I mean, those are just basic, easy things. And if you're going to do a TV show, those are the natural, because there might be some funny situations there.
Right.
Where else he could go, it could be some serious things. He could become in a drama type situation.
He could be, or he could make his way to San Diego. I don't see that happening, but because he doesn't fit there. He's too mild-mannered. And I
don't see him with the flamboyance.
I've
Fernando
heard,
Tatis.
and I've seen him coach third base coach of the Braves, Ron Washington. His name has been thrown out there as a possible. But he's kind of flashy. He likes to
guy. He's kind of an old school guy.
But maybe that's what some of those guys need, is to be old schooled around.
Well, sure. I mean, and he took 2 Rangers teams to the World Series.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Out of Yankees world, looks like Aaron Boone's going to be back signing an extension, but a few of his coaches will not be.
Yeah, Aaron Boone gets a 3-year extension, but third base coach Phil Nevin, who I think came over, or Aaron not came over, but he came to the Yankees because of Aaron Boone. And then the hitting coach, Marcus Thames, and his assistant were let go from the staff. So the manager gets a 3-year extension, but everybody else,
which is different than in St. Louis, because Schilt got it, but it looks like the rest of the coaching staff is going to stick around.
Exactly. And they had a meeting in St. Louis, and it was the coaching staff, and Mike Schilt was there. But apparently, when you are the manager, you are not part of the coaching staff. You are above that. So
management.
Your management, yes. And so they told them at this meeting, coaching staff is safe. So, of course, Mike Schilt is like, oh, I'm safe because this is my coaching staff. And he was not. So all of you managers out there, if you think you're on the coaching staff, you are not. You are a manager, and you can get fired or extended. I don't.
Yeah. All right, we're going to give the prize wheel a break this week because there's just not a lot to say with only 4 teams playing. But we do need to take a look at the wheel of aisle. Hey, maybe this works out better, because even though there's not a third one, the wheel of ill.
The wheel of ill. It fits. Yeah, let's start with Justin Turner, who during the game hit a grounder running, and while he was running to first base, injured his hamstring. Apparently, now they said he had been dealing with the hamstring. I thought he was dealing with the neck stinger, but maybe also his hamstring.
Maybe because his neck was twisted and he overcompensated on how he's walking because he couldn't walk straight. And
maybe
it caused a low grade. And then when he was running, because didn't they say it was like a second grade?
It's a grade 2. And Dave Roberts said that's probably going to be it for him. And I like Justin Turner. I do. He's one of my favorites. But I got to say, when you're batting 12, it's not a big loss.
No, I didn't think, when people were excited that JT's back in there, I'm like, why? You can't hit.
Yeah. And the announcers were like, the Dodger Stadium is in stunned silence. I'm like, well, they've been pretty much silent for that whole game. And to be honest, like I said, I like JT, but I'm like, not going to miss him. Sorry. Not this time anyway. And he was supposed to start the bullpen game for the Braves. Now, we have talked about him before because he has taken a ride on the wheel. He hit a wall and broke his hand, and he was supposed to start the game tonight. Wasgar Inoa was out warming up, had shoulder was bothering him, told Brian Snitker, I can't pitch tonight, and he has shoulder inflammation. So he is also done for the season. And they had to get permission from MLB to take him off of the roster and put a new pitcher on. And so if the Braves make it to the World Series, he will not be back.
Right. He's done. Speaking of guys who are not on the roster now, you mentioned him before, Jorge Solera.
Yes, he has COVID. Well, he had COVID, or he's in COVID protocol, and that is a 10-day quarantine. So, probably not going to be back for this series.
And that made me think Jorge Soler, not Solera. Soler had been their leadoff hitter.
Yes.
When he's able to come back, which would probably be for the World Series, should they make it, who goes out? Do you take out Eddie Rosario or
no,
or Jocelyn?
No, the people I would think would put their pearls on and get their pitchforks, and they wouldn't like that.
He's a good player, no doubt, but these are the guys. What's the old thing? You dance with the girl that you brought, or something to that effect.
Right? Yeah.
You keep the one with the pearls, and you keep the guy who almost hit for the cycle.
Yeah.
Instead hit 2 home runs. Who's hit also has hit in every game of the postseason. He has had 1 hit in every game of the postseason since with the Brewers. What's this, the 7th game for them? He's had at least 1 hit in every game.
I think if they brought back Jorge Soler, and it would probably be on the bench, and then they could get Heredia. Guillermo Heredia, they could probably leave him off of the roster, and then he would be there. But you're not going to take off Jocelyn. Eddie Rosario, Adam Duvall is out in playing center. Where's he going to go? And
it's not like it's not like he lost his job because of his. It's just the other guys stepped up.
Well, it's one of those things. He, got COVID, and the other guys came in and said, all right, we're gonna do it. And they stepped up in a big way. Except, Jocelyn, we know as Dodger fans, October, which now the Braves fans have taken, and so you're not going to take that out. So I just was thinking, because I was talking about Jocelyn, the pearls, they look dumb, but what is worse to me is the whole tomahawk chop in Atlanta. It needs to go, but that's probably a conversation for another day.
It could be a World Series with the politically incorrect versus the cheaters.
It could be. It would be. Yeah. This is where
that's one of those things that they're all doing it. It's not just the fans refuse to give it up. The players do a chop like the Dodgers do the handshakes or the dunking. The
dunking is stupid. I don't like that.
But because Gavin Lux came up with it.
Right.
Not that not that you'd like it anymore if it had been somebody else.
But I might have been more palatable.
It's just increases and it's throbbing and it's like a thing attached to your head.
We'll see how things go tonight, but yeah, and then you'll find out what kind of baseball fan I am next week.
All right, we're gonna wrap things up this week. with some of the best news that we've heard in a while regarding the minor leagues. They started paying them more this season, but still not enough to cover seasonal expenses, let alone, and then you're under contract with the team. So you have to do certain things to maintain that contract, to live up to it, as far as keeping yourself in shape, doing certain things, which takes a fair part of the day. And if you have to go work to support, even if it's just yourself, you're a single guy, that's a lot of money when you only made about $6,000 over the season. And as soon as the season's over for the minor leagues, that's about September, you're not going to get paid again until next year. Now, one of the cool things was this last season, the Asterisks, although it was pretty quiet about it, they provided houses for their minor league players. And in the past, it was a big deal because there were so many teams. Some teams had 2 and 3 Class A teams or a couple of AA teams. This year, everybody has 1 in each level. MLB has announced that next year, all major league teams will provide housing for their minor leaguers. Now, how that will be is whether they buy a building and do that, or may get an agreement with someone who owns a big apartment building or whatever, or if they just give them some type of a stipend to pay for a hotel or pay for that, and work out there. Obviously there's a lot of moving parts because some of these guys are in one place for a few weeks, they, or a month, and then they're called up or they're sent down or they're traded as part of, deals. They can't get out of a lease that they had to sign for, 6 months or a year. So they're working all that out. The military has things where if there's not an out clause, if you're locked in, you can't sign that lease. And they make sure that lease agreements have an out that says because you're in the military and you get transferred, then they got to let you out of the lease. And this should be the same thing for these ball players. And if you're gonna spend a little bit amount of money on these guys so that they can become, members of your organization, and you're going to build them up, then you should support them more, because you're the one who said, we want you to come play baseball for us, but you got to figure out how to survive. And nobody's saying you got to pay them $100,000 a year, but help them with their housing, give them a living wage so that they can continue to do what they're doing to try to meet the terms of their management. So good news there, don't you think?
I think it's great news. I was really happy to see this, especially, across the country, housing, rentals, you can't find them. Housing prices are crazy. But these minor leaguers, a lot of them will rent an apartment and there's like 6 guys, and it could be a 1-room apartment or 2-bedroom apartment, a studio apartment, and they're sleeping on air mattresses,
Floor.
on the floor,
in their cars.
In their cars. If you got 6 guys, one guy sleeps in the kitchen and one guy, it's ridiculous. And, these are your players that you want to represent you in the majors. And yeah, there's got to be a better way. And you have to look at too, there are cities that have really high, I think the New York Mets, their high A team is in Brooklyn. I can't even imagine how much that costs.
Right, and these guys, even with 6 people, and this is even in other places that aren't as expensive as like Brooklyn, even with 6 people, they're barely making it.
Yeah, and then so this is really good that the owners are, the salary increases, and then MLB coming out and saying you have to provide housing. So, and it makes sense, I think, to do something where you make a deal with, the apartment complex or something for these guys.
Excellent. Finally, a good move. I feel like Manfred was not involved in this in any shape or form. He probably just said, "Yeah, okay, hold on, I gotta rig the series so that my two favorite teams get in. I got to make it up to the Braves, but I got to make sure the Asterisks make it in this season." And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at siblingrivalrybb.
We're also on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on SRBB, who's moving on?
And who's crying now?